All right, Pastor. So you are ready to start your side business, your side hustle, whatever that looks like. And you're trying to figure out how to get started. You have your skill, you have your ability, you have your special talent, you have something you've been trained in. Maybe it's a degree that you have, and you're ready to take that and you're ready to apply it to starting a new business on the side. And you want to serve your audience, whoever that is and whatever that looks like, whoever it is that's interested in this thing that you're wanting to get out. But you're not quite sure how you go from, I have this to share and I want to serve people, to finding the right people to serve. And you're trying to bridge that gap. Well, today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how you can bridge that gap by building a content business. I'm going to explain what that means, what it looks like, and the easy steps that it takes to get it off the ground. And quite honestly, I think it's the easiest business to get started. So let's get started. So the big question is this: how do pastors like us, who remain focused on the mission of Jesus and serving our communities without being distracted by everything in the world around us, how do we increase our effectiveness while living a lifestyle that doesn't compromise our health, our families, or our personal relationships with Jesus? That's the question this podcast is going to answer. I'm Dr. Brandon Party Cooper, and welcome to the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're doing wonderful. I hope whatever's going on in your life, wherever you are, whatever's going on today is just a great day for you. I hope it's nice and beautiful outside. It's summertime. It's in the dog days of summer, so I don't know how it is for you, but here it is getting hot. It is warm. It's a little bit muggy. Still beautiful, but it's definitely summer. I'm feeling it. I walk outside and I feel like I just took another bath. So wherever you are, I hope that you are having a great summer as we are in the middle and winding down. We had the realization the other day that for us here in the Party Cooper household, that summer is just about over. We have a couple trips coming up and a couple weeks in between, and then we're back into school. So I hope that you enjoy these last few weeks of summer as we are wrapping up. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're taking time to join me here on the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Our goal here, number one goal, is to help you discover what your dream life in ministry looks like, whatever that looks like. I believe that God has created a dream life for all of us. And I believe that too many of us are not living it. And what we want to do here is we want to help you discover what that dream life looks like, where you have more time, you have more money, and you have a growing ministry. That's the three goals. Living the life where those three things are happening, where you have time with your family, where you have time to do hobbies, where you have time to travel if that's something you love to do, that you have the time that you need to enjoy life, to have this fulfilling life, while at the same time pastoring a growing ministry, loving people, serving people, bringing them closer to Jesus, taking them deeper into their discipleship and loving him, knowing him, and finding their own calling and their own dream life. And that's our goal here. And I'm so glad that you've joined me today, because what we're going to talk about is a major piece in that process. So again, the three pieces to the framework of living your dream life is to have more time, have a growing ministry, and to have more money. And we do that by developing highly effective teams, by delivering engaging experiences, and by designing streams of income. And I want to focus on the last one today. How do you design streams of income? And I believe one of the best ways to get started is by doing a content business, using content to build your business. So let me just tell you my story and explain kind of what that looks like and how that comes about. So when I started out, I had I was doing some coaching and some consulting. I had finished up my doctorate work. I was an executive pastor at a church. And so I was kind of dabbling in coaching and consulting and being in ministry and having lots of people that I knew and lots of connections. I was naturally getting referrals and people that were looking for a coach or consultant. And so at first, getting the first handful of clients was relatively easy, because it was really just saying, hey, I'm doing this to my network, and if you're interested or if you know somebody, let me know. And so the first few clients just kind of came without a lot of work. Now, for me, I was not going to dip into my congregation. And so if you, we have an upcoming episode with me and Pastor Matt, and we talk about not using your congregation for your customers, keeping your ministry and your business somewhat separate, not becoming that salesman that every time they have a conversation with you, you're selling. And so that was my goal, was to not really dip into my congregation unless they approached me and they had a need that I could help with. And so after I tapped my network and I said, hey, I'm doing this, let me know if you know anybody, or if you're interested, let me know. After that, it's kind of like, okay, now what? Now what's the next step? Now where do I go? Because my people know, the people that I have a relationship with and am connected with, they know. I don't want to really dip into my congregation. And my family is just, family gets weird if you're trying to sell things to them all the time. And you just, at least for me and my family, I just like to keep that separate. So kind of like, okay, now what do I do next? Obviously, I need to do ads, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, all these things. And for me, there was a good 2 or 3 year journey of trying to figure out what exactly that looked like, and how did I find an audience? How did I find find customers and people who are interested and figure out how to serve them best. Well, I listened to lots of different business people out there, lots of different online marketers and content creators and all of that. And what I learned and what I came down to and what I've landed on and what I've really spent the last 2 years really investing my time into is creating a content business. And so let me just explain what that is. Content business is where you use content, whether that's videos, articles, or podcasts. You use that to create an audience and then drive that audience through a value ladder where you are selling them multiple products along the way. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go down. But that's essentially what a content business is. So instead of using ads and instead of, creating an audience by, sending out flyers or handing out your business card to everybody you know, or whatever, you use the power of the internet and the algorithms of Google and YouTube and some of the social media sites and whatever. You use the power of their algorithms to figure out who you connect with and the people that you can serve and that are looking for exactly what you're providing, whatever you're teaching, whatever you're selling, use that. And so it's by using content, naturally you will get customers coming to you. And so let me just give you 3 reasons why I think content is the best way to go. The best way to build a business, the best way to create this side hustle, the side business that you're really wanting, that's going to bring the extra income in, that's going to bring the streams of income, that's going to allow you to save for retirement, allow you to save for your kids' college, allow you to go on that vacation that you've always wanted to go on. Let me explain to you how content is going to get you there. The first reason why I think content is the best way to go is that it is cheaper, much cheaper. In fact, content is almost free. You don't have to rely on ads. And if you have tried to do any sort of social media ad, you know that the prices of social media ads are just going up and up and up. It's becoming very competitive. And so, the ad space is getting more and more expensive and harder to really find the people that you're looking for. If you don't know what you're doing, especially if you're starting out and you're not sure how to go about it, it gets really difficult to find your audience using ads because there's so many nuances that you have to get right in order to find that audience. And so when you do content, you're really just taking what you know. So, for instance, for me, my degrees and my experience in ministry had been really in leadership development. And so that's the space that I decided to go into, was developing pastors and their leadership, developing teams, helping them with foresight and future casting, and helping them strategic plan for the future, those types of things. That was the space that I stepped into. And it was because I was using what I knew, my experience in ministry of 20 years, my degrees in organizational leadership, biblical studies, and strategic leadership, all of that knowledge base and experience and things that I'd learned and done, and all the things that I'd gone through over the course of my years of ministry. Those were the things that I knew. And so really creating content wasn't super difficult because I was relying a lot on books that I've already read, studies I've already done, relying on my own experiences, my own mistakes that I've made along the way. Those were easy. All I had to do was sit down, and I started out with a blog. So I started out with doing articles. And so I would just write a 300 to a 3,000 word article and post it onto my blog. It didn't cost me anything. I mean, You could argue it costs me all the years of experience and all the degrees, but on the upfront, sitting down, hey, I want to start a business, I just had to sit down and write an article and post it. That was it. That's all I had to do. Rather than creating ads and buying ad space and, going through that whole process, creating content is just easier and simpler. And so whether you're doing an article or whether you're uploading videos to YouTube, there is almost no cost, if not just a minimal amount of cost, depending on which direction you're wanting to go. So it's much cheaper than doing ads. The second reason is I think it's just easier. You don't have to constantly sell. The idea of content. So when you create a piece of content and you put it out there. So let's say you create a YouTube video and you put it out there. That YouTube video will sit there essentially forever until you take it down. And it will continuously bring people into your world. It will continuously bring new customers and new individuals who connect with whatever your content is after you've put it in there. So I have content that I created 4 years ago, whether it's an article or a YouTube video, it's up there. And it will bring eyeballs into my world, and they will see who I am and find out what I'm doing and how I can serve them from a video or an article that I did 4 years ago. And it will continue to do it for the next 20 or 30 years as long as I leave them up. And so it's much easier because you don't have to constantly be selling to people and trying to peddle a product or peddle a service or maneuver your conversation with people into a place of the opportunity to sell. You don't have to do that because your content's going to do it online for you without you really having to do anything other than create the content. So I think it's just a much easier approach, especially if you're full-time in ministry and you have all these other things to do. You can spend an hour or two a week, create a piece of content, put it up there, and then it's going to do the work for you while you go and do ministry. The third thing is that it's just natural. Content is natural. You pull from your abundance of knowledge and experience. You pull from all of that to help solve problems for other people. And you don't necessarily even have to be an expert. You just have to be 2 steps ahead of where they are. You have an answer to a problem that they have. It's just a much more natural process. And we've all been there, especially those of us, if you're a pastor and ministry leader, you've been there probably 100 times over the course of your ministry where somebody says, hey, pastor, I really have this problem and I'm not really sure what to do with it. And then what you do is you pull from your experience, you pull from your knowledge, you pull from maybe a book you just read or whatever. You pull from that and you say, well, let me tell you, this is what I've learned, or this is what I've experienced, or this is what I think maybe you should do. And you lay out whatever that is. Well, that's essentially what you're doing when you're creating content. It's somebody is saying, hey, I have this problem, and you're creating a piece of content. So instead of just answering the question and moving on, you're going to write the content down, or you're going to put it in a video or put it in a podcast, and then you're going to move on. And then that answer, that response to that question that you have is going to sit there for anybody to discover who has that same question. And so it's just a lot more of a natural process. Hey, pastor, I have a problem. Okay, let me give you my ideas or my thoughts or the solution I think you should do. You record it, you put it on a piece of content, put it out there, you move on. And then that content answers that question over and over and over again and creates an audience who come to you looking for answers to questions. And so those are the 3 reasons why I just think content is the better way to go. It's cheaper, it's easier, and it's much more natural. So let me explain to you the path of creating, going from, hey, I have all this thoughts and ideas and everything else, to creating content into building a business that's going to create a stream of income for you for as long as you keep creating content. Okay, so the first step you're going to need to do is you're going to need to decide which medium are you going to use. Are you going to use blog articles? So you're going to write a blog? Are you going to use podcasts? So are you going to create a podcast that you're going to post and people can listen to on their way to work or when they're cleaning the house or whatever? You're going to do a podcast, or you're going to do a YouTube video where you create a video, you put it on YouTube and people can watch it, or you're going to create a combination of 2 or 3 or how are you going to do that? Which one are you going to do? Now, I would suggest starting out, choose one. Choose the one that you're most comfortable with. So whether you are, you're saying, hey, I don't really want to be recorded. I just want to write. I love writing. I'm really good at writing. So I'm just going to do that. Great. Maybe you say, I would be okay doing an audio, doing a podcast. I'd be okay talking to a microphone, but I don't really want to get on video. So I'm just going to do a podcast. Great. Do that. If you're saying, hey, I feel comfortable, I don't really feel comfortable writing. I feel like I could do video. Okay, do video. Whatever works for you, I think is where you begin. I think that moving forward, you have to be open to other options and maybe expanding that. But starting out, choose one, stick with it, and making sure that it's something you can keep up with, you can do, you can manage long term. So that's the first thing. Choose the medium of your content: blog article, podcast, YouTube. The second thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create a lead magnet. Now, what a lead magnet is, and you know exactly what this is when I tell you, because you've done it 100 times for somebody else, where you are, you go to somebody's website and they say, hey, get my free, cheat sheet or my free checklist or, my free whatever. All you have to do is give me your email and I'll send it to you. That's what a lead magnet is. The lead magnet is the thing that they're sending to you. And you need one of those. You need some sort of lead magnet that has something to do with whatever it is that you're trying to teach or create or send them. So, let's say, for instance, you are a swim instructor and you're wanting to reach people in your community. You want to, reach people to teach them how to swim or swim safety, something like that. You want to get people in there. Okay. So what your lead magnet might be something like, the top 5 things to do when you feel like you're drowning, or here's a cheat sheet on the gear you need to take when you're going, scuba diving, whatever. I don't know. That's not really my space, but you see what I'm saying? Like, it's this thing, it's super helpful. It serves them really well. It adds a great amount of value to them, but it's also easy for them to consume. So it's not an ebook. It's not some long piece of content that they're getting. It's something they can go through really quickly. Maybe it's a video that you're teaching something, whatever. You need to create a lead magnet, something that they can give you their email and get something back in return. Whatever that something that they get in return is what you have to create. And so, cheat sheets, lists, a map of some sort, those are always good options. Maybe you're a photographer and you're going to give them a bundle of free images or something like that. Just anything that you feel like is going to serve them and bring a lot of value, but is relatively easy for them to consume. That's what you're looking for. So you're going to create a lead magnet. The third thing you're going to do is you're going to create content that is pointing to the lead magnet. So again, podcast, YouTube video, blog article. You're going to write your article about whatever it is that you're wanting to write about, or shoot the video or record the podcast. And then somewhere in there, at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, somewhere in there, you're going to say, hey, I would love to give you my free whatever. So for, if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, that lately what I've been doing is giving my list of free getaways. So if you're wanting a free getaway, a list of 10 free getaways that you can go to as a pastor and ministry leader, these are people who want to serve you. They want to bless you. They have their ranches and their log cabins and their spaces. They want to let you stay anywhere from 2 to 14 days. All you have to do is go to brandonpartycooper.com, free getaway, and you can get that list and see if maybe one's right in your backyard. And you can call them up and you can make a reservation and completely free stay wherever it is they are for however long they allow you. And it's not going to cost you anything other than just getting there. And so if you want to go to brandonpartycooper.com/free getaway, you can get your list there and get started finding your free getaway today. Okay, so you see that's what a lead magnet is. It's, you go through your content, you say, hey, I would love to give you something for free. I'd love to give you, your free list of all the things you need when you go scuba diving, or here's your list of the 5 things you need to do if you feel like you're drowning in the pool, whatever. And so, just send me your email and I'll send you the list. That's what your lead magnet is. And that's how your content then points to the lead magnet. And so every time you post a blog or a podcast or a YouTube video, you always want to point to whatever that lead magnet is. And the reason is because step 4 is you have to build your email list. Your email list becomes the list, the place where you can sell your products and services. It's the place where you can bring people from, hey, I'm just watching or reading or listening to this piece of content, into, hey, I want to buy this thing that you're selling. And so you need to build that email list. And the reason why you need an email list is because you cannot rely on your social media. I heard a story a couple years ago. For those of you who remember Periscope, it was a social media app, and if I remember right, it was mainly videos. It was short videos. But anyway, there was this content creator on Periscope that had a couple million followers. They were making content all the time, every day, multiple pieces of content, little videos. They were making well over $1 million a year doing this. And then Periscope shut down. If I remember right, they got bought out by somebody. And so they completely shut down. Well, this content creator went from making $1 million a year to making absolutely nothing. And the reason why was because he had relied solely on his social media followers on Periscope. He had never converted them to email. And so everybody that was following him, everybody that was watching his videos, everybody essentially that loved him could not find him any longer because Periscope shut down. The reason you want an email list is because you control that list. You own it. Those contacts are raising their hand and saying, I appreciate what you're doing. I like your content. I want you to send me more. And you can control that list as long as you serve them well, as long as you give them great content, add good value to them. You control that list. Otherwise, if you're relying on your social media, it could all disappear. The algorithm could change. There's 100 things that could happen, and you could lose contact with your people in the blink of an eye. And so your lead magnet inside your content leads them to the email list, which then with your email list, you can then, step 5, sell them your products and services, because they're people who already are looking to buy from you. They're already enjoying your content. They're already appreciating the free lead magnet that you gave them. They're already on board with whatever you're doing. And so let's say you're a woodworker, and let's say you're teaching people how to make dining room tables, beautiful dining room tables. That's what you're teaching them how to do. And so they stumble across your content. They're looking, how do I create this really cool leg for my dining room table? And in the Google search, they come across a video that you did on YouTube where you explained how to do a dining room table leg. And they watch that video and they're like, man, that was really helpful. I really like that. And then they watch maybe another one. And each time they watch, they see you say, hey, get your free list of, the 5 steps that you need to take to put that beautiful finish on your dining room table. And they've heard it, 3, 4, or 5 times. They say, hey, I really want that. And so they give you their email, they sign up, they get their list of how to do that beautiful finish on the top of a dining room table. So now you have their email list. And you're sending them an email every week or every few days, just kind of adding more value, giving them more free tips and things like that. And then along the way, you say, hey, if you really want to get serious about creating this dining room table, or maybe you want to create a set of chairs to go with that table, here's my course, or here's my ebook, or here's whatever for X amount of dollars. You can get it right now, and it's going to walk you step by step on how to do it. And they're like, oh, I really want that. And so they fill out the form and they pay for that product, and they get whatever the product is that you sold to them. They love it because it helps them do their thing and finish out their project. You love it because now you have a customer and they're happy with what you've done. And, that's how the cycle goes. You have this email list that you can constantly send new things and say, hey, would love to help you out with this new course or this new product or this new service, whatever that is. And it all starts with the content that you're creating. And so that's why I believe that having a content business is so valuable. It's so important. And it's honestly the easiest thing you can do as a pastor. For me, I wish that I would have started while I was on staff at the church that I was at. I was an executive pastor. I was working on my doctorate. I had already started creating content, but I had just held most of it. I didn't really have a strategy or a way to monetize it or create an audience. I didn't have anything like that. I was just creating content. And then because of circumstances with my family and, some structured things with the church, they weren't able to keep me on or afford me. And so I had to step off, and it was perfect timing because I just finished my doctorate. I'd wanted to go into coaching. And so I was like, okay, now I'm going to start building my business, my coaching and consulting business. Well, the problem is that I really hadn't spent a lot of time investing ahead of time. Whereas for you, you're currently on staff in a church, you're doing ministry, and you have an hour or two a week where you could sit down and create a piece of content, whether it's an article or a podcast or a video. You could create a piece of content in a couple hours or less a week. And once you create that piece of content, it'll work for you from that point on. And you can start bringing almost a semi-passive income stream on a regular basis by following these simple steps, creating content, building email lists, and selling products. By doing that, you can start this first stream of income for yourself, getting it to where it's just going and you're really not having to do a whole lot other than creating the content and serving your customers as needed. So that's why I think content business is so valuable. I think it's the best thing as a pastor and ministry leader for you to jump on, because it's not a lot of time, not a lot of energy, and it really expands not only your reach and your influence, but it expands your platform, and it moves you from being an expert in whatever you are an expert in, as well as an expert in ministry, because you've been doing that for so long. And so I just think that it needs to start now, and it's really simple. It's just 5 steps. And you can get started today by just creating the content and getting it out there. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that you see the value in having a content business. And I would love to hear if you have any ideas on how you want to move forward. In fact, if you think about which medium would you want to use, YouTube, podcast, a blog article, which one do you think would work best for you? Which one do you think you're most comfortable with, and why? I would love to hear that. If you want to leave a comment here on the YouTube video, or if you want to leave a comment on your podcast player, if you're watching on Spotify or on Anchor, you can leave it there. Or if you just want to send me an email, just send it to founder@brandonpartycooper.com and just send me an email and say, hey, I think this is where I would be. I think this is what I would do. And here are the reasons why. I would love to hear that, because I want to see you take these steps forward in creating these streams of income and start living that dream life that I believe God has created for you and that I want to see you live. So please, I would love to hear from you and find out exactly what you think the best step, the best medium for you to use is, and why you think so. All right. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.